Hey everyone, welcome back to Rather Be Visin. I'm Sam, and today we're taking a look at another Workout Wednesday challenge. So without further ado, let's hop into Workout Wednesday and see what we're going to be tackling today. So for this one, I've jumped deep down into the archives. This one is from week 7 in 2018, I believe. But it's quite a straightforward one, but has some things that you can learn from it that are really, really useful in your day-to-day. So as you can see, week 7, min and max sales by month. So this week, we're going to be looking at subcategory sales by month and creating a highlight table which subcategories were the min and max sales within that month. So you can see the visualization there. We can see we've got months running across the top with a total. We've then got our subcategories coming down the table, and we were able to filter by both year and category. So if we have a look at the requirements, we need subcategories sorted in descending order by total sales within the year. Each month, we need to highlight the minimum sales in red and the maximum sales in blue. We need to pay attention to the formatting and how the table adjusts in size according to how many subcategories are being shown. And finally, we need to make sure that users can filter by year and or category. So that all seems relatively straightforward. Let's see if it is straightforward when we get into the build. So I'm just going to hop into Tableau here, or attempt to. There we go. I need to make sure I get those transitions in. So we're in Tableau now. So we know we're just going to build this out in one sheet. So let's start building it out. So we know we want to have our month of order date up in columns. So I'm going to right click and drag my order date up into columns. And then I'm going to select month. And that's going to give me my discrete months coming across the top. I know that I'm going to want to filter by the year of my order date. So I'm going to right click and drag that into filters. And this time select years. And I'll select all for now. Now I want to show my subcategory in my rows, so I've got them coming down the side, but I also want to be able to filter on my category. So again, I'm going to drag that up into filters. I want to filter on all values, and I'm going to select all of them for now. So we've got the table built out. Now we need to pull in that sales figure. So if we bring in our sales from over on the data pane, I'm just going to drop that onto text. And there we have our sales values. I'm going to change this into pounds. There we go. Cool. So now for the colouring, we know that we want to highlight the minimum and maximum values, and we want to make sure that everything else is a plain white. So the way we're going to do that is by using some table calculations for window min and window max. And what these calculations do is they have a look at all of the data within the table and it highlights the minimum and maximum value. So let's build out our calculated field. So I'm going to call this min and max. And I'm going to start off with if, and I'm going to do sum of sales is equal to the window max of my sum of sales. Then I want you to say max. Else if the sum of my sales is equal to the window min of the sum of my sales, then you guessed it, it's going to be min. And then we'll put an else, and we'll just put other, and then we'll end that off. Now I've got some errors because I've not added in my closing brackets around those. And there we go, the calculation is valid, so we're good to go. So we click apply on that, and then OK. If we drag our min and max and we're going to drop that onto color, you can see it colors the text of our table here based on those values. So you can see we've got a lot of maxes, we've got a lot of others which is coming through as red, and we've got a lot of mins that are coming through as orange. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this to square because we know that we want to have that background highlighted. But as you can see, it's not plain ball. It's given us some tiny squares behind the numbers, which isn't what we want. So what we're going to have to do here is be a bit creative with the way that we pull this through. So at the moment it's being held as a discrete, and it's being held as each sort of category, if you'd like. What we need to do is have this running almost as a continuous measure behind all the sheets and behind all the numbers. And what we'll do is we'll use a diverging colour scheme in order to get it to highlight the boxes. So what we're going to do, I'm going to get rid of it off of colour. Let's change this back to text. Now I'm going to edit my min and max. And I'm going to change this, so rather than being max, we're going to have that as a 1. And then for minimum, we're going to have -1. And then for other, it's going to be 0. So if we click apply on that, and then OK, and we drag that up onto colour now, and we change this to square, if we change this to continuous, you can see it now highlights the cell rather than putting a square behind it. And we've now got our min-max diverging colour scheme. So we've got our orange for minimum, our blue for maximum. Now, if you have a look at this at the moment, it's not calculating quite how we want it to. So we can see it's a table calculation because we've got the little delta sign here, but it's currently running across the table. So it's saying for accessories, what was my lowest month? What was my highest month? And actually, we want to do this on our months. We want it calculating on the table downways. So I'm going to click on the drop down menu here, and I'm going to edit my table calculation, and we can see what it's doing here. So at the moment, we're doing table across. So it's having a look across here and saying, what's the biggest number? What's the smallest number? We don't want it to do that. We want it to go on the table down. And when we've applied that, we can see that now it is pulling out the largest and the smallest values for each month. And we can see that actually fasteners is an absolute stinker. Maybe we should stop selling that at our imaginary superstore. Now, what we need to do now is make sure that we get the colours right. So at the moment, we're still pulling through a blue and an orange. We want to make sure that we can have a blue and a red. So if I'm going to come up into my colour here, I'm going to edit my colours. I'm going to come down, I'm going to pick custom diverging, and I'm going to pick a red for the low one, and I'm going to pick a blue for the high one, and I'm going to say stepped colour, and I'm going to have it at 3 steps. So now we're going to have 3 colours, either red or blue, and our middle is going to be this grey colour. So if we click apply on this, you can see that's what we end up with. Now this isn't quite what the challenge was asking for, and if you remember the visualization they had as the example, it was they had blue, they had red, and they had white in the middle. So by putting in a custom diverging color scheme within Tableau, you're not able to get that white exactly on unless you really fiddle around with the colors. So what we're going to do is we're going to add in a custom color scheme into our color palette. So the way that we do that is actually within the preferences file that is found within your Tableau repository. So let me just find where I've got that. So now we're going to head into my Tableau repository, my documents folder. I'm going to open a preferences file and I'm going to add in our new color palette. So here I am in my Tableau repository, and I'm going to open my preferences. So it might already have the notepad icon. Mine does, because I've opened this plenty of times. If yours doesn't, you can just right click and then open with and pick notepad. So here we've got my preferences file. You can see I've actually already got 2 color palettes in here. The first one being my London Underground color palette, where I've got all the different colors of the London Underground lines that I used for a visualization did a few months ago. And then I've got this one that I've already added in for white middle. Now you can see the way that these are set up. So if you've opened this for the first time, you're likely just to have workbook preferences, and then it'll end with /preferences /workbook. So it's just a sort of XML file here. So to add a color palette, what you need to do is you start off with your opening triangle bracket, color palette name equals, and then in speech marks, you put in the name for your color palette, and this is what will appear within Tableau. And then you can choose the type. So your type are either regular or ordered sequential. Regular is like when you can pick your colors. So for the London Underground, that's what I needed. I didn't need to have a sequential color palette that was changing all the colors of the London Underground. I think that would actually be quite sickening on the eye. And then you add in each of your colors using the hex codes with color and /color around them. You then, when you've got to the end of it, you finish it off with a /color palette. And then when you reopen Tableau, so you have to close it and reopen it, it will then appear within there. So I've got this one that I've called white middle. Its type is ordered sequential, so that's what we need for this table. And then I've put in colors there, and you can see we've got two colors either end, and then in the middle I've got all the Fs, which is white. So now the three colors that I'll have available to me are two colors and white in the middle. So let's hop back into Tableau and see exactly what that looks like. So here I am, I'm going to close that off. I'm going to come into my edit colors, and you can see at the bottom I've got my white middle. So this is the one that I added, and you can see I've not quite followed the brief of the red and the blue. I've gone for a sort of pinky red and a neon-y sort of blue. But you can see I've got white in the middle, and when we apply this, we can see we now get that white around all the numbers that aren't our min or our max, and that's because of the way that we've set it up. So if we have a look at our calculation again, we've said that if it is the maximum value, then it's going to have a value of 1. If it's the minimum value, it's going to have the value of -1, and otherwise it's going to be 0. So everything else is going to be sat in the middle. Our maximum values are 1s, our minimum values are -1s, and that's what we're using to color. So we're not actually using the pound value of sales to color this table. We're using these values here. So either 1, 0, or -1. Cool. So that is our table pretty much built. Now we need to think about the formatting and the filters. So we need to add in our grand totals here. So I'm going to come up to analysis, I'm going to go to totals, and I'm going to show my column grand totals. That's wrong, I actually want to show my row grand totals. So I'm going to come back into analysis and take off my column ones. Now we want to make sure that we're sorting our subcategory by sales for total. So we're just going to click on that sort, and there we go. We've got our grand total minimum to maximum. Now what we're going to do, let's go into a dashboard, bring in our sheet 1. I'm going to get rid of that. Now let's make this fit the entire view. We can get rid of our title here, get rid of our field labels, get rid of that as well. And now we can bring in a horizontal container, stick that up at the top, and then in here we can bring in our filters for our category and our filters for our order date. Now let's change these to be multiple values and drop down. And we might want to change this to say select year and select a category. Okay, let's bring that up. I'm going to bring a blank in, and then I will distribute my contents evenly, and I'll bring in another blank up at the other end there, so they then get moved into the middle. Finally, let's add in a dashboard title, and then we can say min and max values by month. We can also filter by category and year. Let's centrally align that, bold that. Let's drop this down a bit, and then we will change that to a grey. There we go. So now we're able to pick which year we want to look at, and we're able to take out categories. And because of the way that we've set this up, because we've selected our sheet and we've made sure the sizing is entire view, that's always going to adjust and make sure that it always takes up all of the space that is available to it. So if we only have one small category where we've only got 4 subcategories within there, that's going to take up a lot more space than if we have all of our categories in there. So that is Workout Wednesday for having a look at the minimum and maximum values by month. So hopefully you found that run through useful. We learned how to do min and max values within a table, so that's pretty useful, and also how to add in those different color palettes. So if you thought it was great, please do leave a comment. If you want to see something else, please do let me know. If there's a workout Wednesday that you found particularly difficult and you want to see me struggle with it as well, please do let me know in the comments below and I'll give it a go. But that's pretty much it. I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye now. Into our Tableau repository folder in my documents, and then we can find the preferences file and we can edit it to add our new bloody hell.